I wouldn't change my childhood for anything. I want to grow up in the 70s and 80s and play with the things I did, the toys I had, because they were awesome. But it's easy to look around at kids these days and be a little judgy. Do they need to be connected to a screen at all times? And their toys are generally as high-tech as can be, while we entertained ourselves with far less.
With the power that can really rip. He's sensational.
And okay, some of that natural reaction is unfounded, because honestly, a lot of old toys, jacks, shrinky dinks, are pretty unimpressive, but we spent hours on the playground with them anyway. However, some toys from back in the day were really ingenious, stuff that I don't think has been replicated in a successful manner still today, but for whatever reason have fallen by the wayside a bit, no longer a hot commodity, so let's dredge them up.
He takes to the skies with his turbocopter and spots the intruder's hideout from above.
I'm Nostalgic Nick with Do You Remember? And today we're digging in the old toy chest, dusting off truly awesome toys that no kid today would appreciate. But hey, appreciate us and hit that thumbs up icon. And subscribe to the channel for more. But come on, let's play. Lite-brite. At first glance, Hasbro's lite-brite, released in 1967, doesn't seem that impressive. But then you remember it was only a mere 40 years before that a majority of houses in America had any form of electric lighting at all. And now suddenly kids were able to move multicolored pegs around, and spell words on the electronic board, or even make art that glowed as if magic. No wonder little minds were blown.
Of colored lights.
So why wouldn't today's youth enjoy the lite-brite as much as their forefathers? Well, have you heard of an iPad? Yes, the thing old and young have in their fingers all the time. Roughly the size and shape of the lite-brite. Able to not only show you a picture of literally anything ever invented or discovered on the earth, but it also lets you play Candy Crush. So sadly, it's no wonder the lite-brite has been consigned to the dustbin of history. Rockem Sockem robots. When Rockem Sockem robots were released in 1964, kids everywhere went bananas. Muhammad Ali was the biggest sports star in the world, and this toy transported you down into the ring, where you could furiously battle your friends, punching, counter-punching, until one of your respective heads shot up amidst cries of joys and wails of sorrow.
That's more of it.
I got a good jab going on here. Right in the face.
Oh, yes!
But let's be honest, kids these days wouldn't give these robots the time of day. First of all, who cares about boxing anymore? And also, video games. Two mechanical plastic robots jabbing away at each other just doesn't get the blood pumping. In an age where intense games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter have been around for decades, quarter after quarter of punches galore. But with the advent of virtual reality, who knows, maybe Rockem Sockem robots will be making a comeback soon. Pong. And now onto another toy that modern video games have unfortunately made obsolete. The amazing, innovative Pong. And not the table tennis beer drinking game, which perhaps is the only kind of Pong today's youth would recognize. No, I'm talking about one of the most groundbreaking toys of all time, with two virtual paddles going up and down either side of the screen, batting a ball back and forth. It was the first video game that you could play at your home on your TV, and it completely revolutionized an industry worth billions of dollars today. Could you imagine kids now living in a world without video games at home? I just heard my neighbor scream no. But all things must pass, and in a world where you can log onto any computer to play a completely immersive game, simultaneously with millions of other people around the world, Pong just doesn't have a youthful audience anymore.
I mean, hitting a ball with two paddles is so boring.
Pedal cars. A toy car kids can climb into and push themselves forward using their own feet, which delighted children for decades. Who didn't want to pretend to be Fred Flintstone tooling around bedrock looking fly as hell? So why don't we see these old-timey delights anymore? 2 words: Power Wheels.
Power wheels.
which reached sales of over 1 million in the US in 1990. Who would want to be the peasant propelling themselves forward with their own 2 feet when they could be whirring around in style on a battery-powered car decked out in Barbie or Jurassic Park logos? And so began the slow descent of the pedal car, which is truly unfortunate because unlike the cheaply made plastic power wheels of today, the pedal cars of the past were mostly metal, and baby, they were built to last. Milky, the marvelous milking cow. So we're about halfway through this list of awesome toys kids today would not appreciate. So I did think it was time for a quick break to remind ourselves that not every toy from bygone eras is incredible. And I give you Milky, the marvelous milking cow, a travesty that has unfortunately been swallowed by the sands of time.
She drinks water and gives pretend milk.
A plastic cow that would drink water from a trough. Then when you pulled its udders, a white, milk-like substance would be squeezed out. Doesn't that sound like hours of fun? If you said no, you're right. I mean, at best, like 3.5 seconds. Then the looming horror of what humanity has created sinks in. But don't worry, it's definitely fake milk. They made sure to say that 3 times. But it was no surprise the toy was pulled from shelves mere months after its debut. Deluxe Talk Boy. Home Alone 2 was released in 1992, and suddenly everyone wanted to own a Talk Boy, the recording device that lets Kevin slow down and speed up his voice and helps him thwart his 2 dim-witted burglar nemesises.
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly!
And while the first version sold poorly, because it didn't have all the bells and whistles as the movie version, when the deluxe Talk Boy premiered in 1993, the country went mad, and almost 10 million units were sold before Christmas. And yet, of those millions, how many are still around today? Very few. And we have Steve Jobs to thank for that. Cause with everyone walking around with an iPhone in their pocket, even middle schoolers, we all have a device that can not only record our voices, but literally our whole lives. And Kevin could have just called the cops. Spirograph. It was in the early 19th century that an English architect first invented a device that let you draw geometric shapes using gears. And 100 years later, the technology had morphed into the ubiquitous 60s and 70s toy, the spirograph. By running a small gear with a pin in it around the inside of a much larger gear, geometrically perfect drawings could be made that would be virtually impossible to do with the freehand. But sadly, in a common theme that is this video, we live in the age of computers today, making the spirograph all but obsolete. The wonder and glamour of a perfectly formed shape is drastically lessened when a hunk of circuits can do something incredibly more impressive in a fraction of the time. Original Mr. Potato Head. When the original Mr. Potato Head was released in 1952, it took the country by storm, being the first toy to be advertised on TV, and was very different from today's sterile plastic version. Original Mr. Potato Head only consisted of pushpin parts that kids would stick into an actual potato that their parents provided.
Potato Head people look different every time you make them.
The whole thing smacked of a nation only very recently removed from the Great Depression and World War II. You had to play with what you found around the house. It was also a brilliant move by Hasbro, because the potato makes up 90% of the toy. However, due to obvious reasons, the original Spud has fallen by the wayside, because who wants rotting vegetables chilling in their kids' playrooms? Speak and Spell. You would never know it by looking at it today, but when the original Speak and Spell was released in 1978, it was revolutionary. Here was an electronic device that could display words and, most importantly, was portable and could be taken anywhere. This foreshadowed everything from the Game Boy to the iPhone, and eventually the Speak and Spell even used different interchangeable game cartridges, a feature of every modern video game system. Yet, kids these days would not appreciate them at all. A computer can do everything the Speak and Spell can, only times 1 trillion. There's hundreds of apps today for helping kids learn to spell. Plus, computers can play SpongeBob. Case closed. And there you have them. Some of the absolute coolest toys that kids today probably would not enjoy. Moo. And one toy I'm happy we haven't inflicted on the youth today. Did you spend hours playing with any one of these toys we mentioned? Which did you have? Which was your favorite?
Stop drooling on me.
And what toy did we leave off that you think today's jaded youth would not appreciate? Let us know in the comments below, we read them all. And be sure to hit the thumbs up icon for us. And subscribe to our channel. But I gotta go see if I can find a Milky on eBay. So until next time, from all of us at Do You Remember, thanks very much for watching.